Yeah, okay. My name is Ramadhan, and as I've been introduced, I'm a head of network engineering at Vodacom. I think I'll go straight into my response to your question. From the MNO perspective, I think we will continue putting up a lot of investment to make sure that we reach the uncovered population. And we know that the digital transformation has, picked up. Today, people are actually buying most of the services through their handheld devices. Government payments, all of them are actually done through the digital platforms. But we know that in terms of the coverage of the people to have seen, it's only 55% of the Tanzanian population which is covered by data. So from our side, we continue to put up a good investment to make sure that we cover more people every year. Vodacom alone, I think last year we spent more than 100 billion shillings to improve our coverage and qualities for our network to make sure that we reach more people. But on the other side, we know the traditional coverage ways of reaching people is capital intensive and it's very difficult to do. So we're also looking on the emerging technologies to make sure that we reach the population which is uncovered. We have the things like high altitude platforms, hubs, which is more of throwing a balloon and give you the coverage. We have some other emerging technologies like Mio and Leo, which they are offering coverage solutions in recent. So from Vodacom perspective, we are also doing a lot of population which is not covered and shrink the gap for digital divide. Yes, so but on top of that, I think this, we cannot do this alone. It has to be a collective kind of approach. We have issues of devices in the market. I think one of the reasons why a lot of people are not reached also, we have had in the previous conversation that the cost for devices is high. And that has to be addressed collectively between the government through the regulations and the policies, but also with the MNOs and other suppliers through device financing and other methodologies. So that is something also which I think it will accelerate the digital division if we focus on those items. Thank you.
Hi guys, my name is Neville Thandroyan. I take care of digital network solutions at Helios Towers Group. So yeah, in terms of Helios' support, in terms of rural coverage, I mean, we're doing a number of initiatives. And like you said, it's not just connectivity in rural areas, it's also connectivity in urban areas where there's challenges with coverage. We've got actually a good example in Tanzania where we've deployed the outdoor DAS solution in Kariako where people didn't have coverage in the city center. And Helios worked together with multiple operators and managed to deploy a solution there. We're also looking at solutions in rural areas where we provide low-cost, full turnkey solutions, if I can put it that way, where almost a network as a service. But also in Tanzania, looking at how we support the operators in building off the UXAF sites for them to, help with the rural connectivity as well.
Hello everyone, I'm Prakhar Vashisht. I take care of sales and the sales director for Hughes Network Systems in about 22 countries in MEA. So in terms of reaching out to the rural population and the unconnected, I think satellite is one of the ways through which the MNOs and telcos can reach out to those areas fairly quickly. And but I agree with what Ramadhan just said, that some of these challenges with regards to the devices needs to be worked together, and it cannot be only that we leave this push to the MNOs and the telcos. It has to be worked along with all the vendors and the financing model that needs to come up in order to provide device availability in those areas. As far as access technologies are concerned, there are enough satellites, high throughput satellites today in the space to solve those issues and to get service directly to the handset or to the region. So from that perspective, we are well covered, and those the price and the cost of the bandwidth is going down drastically. We at Hughes pride ourselves as a technology company. So regardless of what type of technology today is available, whether it's Geo, NGSO, we continue to develop technology at a very fast pace in order to do our bit in bringing down those costs for our vendors and customers.
Kevin Viret of YahClick. I was just here a few minutes ago, so less introductions on me. Bradley, I think the panel has demonstrated there's a common thread going through that more coverage is needed, more connectivity is needed. I think that's what the panel is. So when I was asked to be part of the panel, I looked at this word of robust, and I certainly understand the need for a robust network. The question we've got to ask ourselves as an industry is, I know I'm not supposed to be asking the question you are, right? The question I have is, who are we building these robust networks for? Why are we building them? And why are we not cross-subsidizing what we spend on these robust networks for 20% of the population to connect the other 80%? Why are we not doing that? And the gentleman in front asked me the question about redundancy, robustness. I think it's much easier as a satellite operator to do that. We build one platform, we've got 4 gateways, we've got all these, so we can do the redundancy, and we've got the ubiquitousness. It gives us a distinct advantage. I'd like to put the question back to the panel. That robustness that we're trying to build into the MNO, FNO network for urban areas, what can we do to get that further rolled out to the masses? You want to take this one? It gets back to 10% increase gets you 2% economy benefit.
Thanks, Kev. So I as a fellow LEO satellite operator, I'm going to answer from my perspective as well. I'm Bradley Shaw, Vice President of Lynk Global. We're a LEO satellite operator providing direct-to-device connectivity across the globe. We feel exactly the same, that we're a rural coverage provider. We're providing connectivity coverage directly from our satellite to cover areas that currently are not connected. We use spectrum as the access technology. We have to work. Sorry, guys. Okay, this one is you. Okay, yes, now you can hear me again. So we work directly with the MNOs to partner with them because the access technology is spectrum. We use spectrum to connect directly to our satellites to provide connectivity. But I completely agree with you. What's the point of a robust network if it's not ubiquitous? So I'm going to flip the script and we're going to go back the other way. What is your view in terms of the kind of ubiquitous connectivity that's required in Africa, and what can we do next to take that next step? Let's just use the one that's working.
So the question was about what we as operators can do to get it out more ubiquitous. Hello.
So I agree fully here that the network has to be robust as well as ubiquitous. So it's imperative. Certain networks like satellite networks, we can easily, as Kevin just said, we can easily do the robustness here by taking care of the redundancy and by having the network resiliency plan. But for the overall network, from the MNO perspective, it requires providing enough redundancies and having alternative communication paths. There has to be proper strategies which looks at what are the fault detection mechanism, where the network would face attacks, and as we heard from the speaker just before this panel, that the cyber security and those kind of robustness, network resiliency requirements need to be built in. So for that, you need to do proper audits. You need to have the proper technology basis on which you can test your network fault tolerance, and you also need to work together with the team, with the people who are taking care of the network, on how those networks will behave if such an event happens, and what are the disaster recovery options. So some of those techniques needs to be employed. As far as the satellite is concerned, we take care of these 3 parameters through which we regularly monitor how the network is going to be performing, which is the latency, the jitter, or the packet loss. So I'm sure on the terrestrial side of the network, MNOs will have their view of it, and we'll hear about it from them.
Yeah, so we're part of the CapEx intensity. So as the telco, I mean, we've been looking at multiple strategies.
Address the issue of network simplicities. We don't want products to be very complex for our customers to access them. So network simplicity is important. We need to protect our product and services. We need to protect our customers, so cybersecurity comes in there. So all these things are pegged into reliability and availability of the network to make it more robust. Thank you.
Thanks, Brad. So I'm just going to stay away from what it takes to make the network robust, because I believe that has actually been covered, and cybersecurity. So I'd rather take I'll take a different approach and talk about the people and how do we get this to the people. So we as tiGO have invested over 500 million to ensure that we can actually do this. And most of this is being spent to modernize our existing mobile network. For example, installing a lot more 4G and 5G. But 4G and 5G, meaningful connectivity, I really like this. 4G and 5G, yes, but with 4G and 5G, we are still addressing the people that are in the room, right? In this room, right? Yeah. So, because we need to now go to the rural, how are we getting to the rural and making sure, even if we connect them on 3G and 4G, how do they actually access this, right? Because the biggest issue here is access. You spoke about devices. Even if we get technology to the people, as long as they don't have devices, we'll never really be able to connect them. So device financing is not just important, it's actually vital. If you look at what India has done, India did this with device financing. We are maybe where India was 7 years ago, I would say. India today is on average, what the data says is the consumption on average per person is 20 GB. Now given their bundles are normally per family, it would mean maybe per family. But still, 20 GB is a lot per individual, and you're talking about over 1 billion people. So obviously they did it over the fiber, but Indians made sure that everyone had access to technology, and then they bundled it up with power. We have a major issue with power. They made sure households, you'll find a shack somewhere in India, they made sure a household has power, has the gadgets that they need, they powered it with content like Prime and Netflix, and etc., and how to make it, and made it easy for them to pay for it. So this is really what we need to start thinking of. It's one thing to connect people, but how do we get devices to them? How do we make sure that they're empowered with power, which is something we're doing. We are providing device financing, and a lot of that we need to subsidize, because again, the community cannot afford the smartphone, for example, that we need to drive data consumption and to change their lives. But then over and above that, how do we grow this fintech community? How do we grow this? How do we bring in the marginalized so that they are more financially capable? Our unbanked community is, I think, and please, bank people might shoot me, but the last time I read, I think it's more than 10%, and I think that's just a reality, especially if you just look at the numbers on a very high level. It's only 10% of our people that are actually banked. How do we fix that? These are our problems of our nation. We have been empowered with one tool that can fix a lot of these people, a lot of these problems. So we do this by making sure our mobile money services, all of us, can get to everyone in a very efficient way, making sure the app is very, very efficient. We have launched products like Neville, which helps small companies and an individual, that street hawker that's selling chicha. It helps them get small loans so that they can drive their business on a day-to-day, and then so that they can send money from someone who is in Moshi to a remote village in Moshi to their baby who needs this money. If the more we do such initiatives, the more we can actually start to empower, not start because we've been doing it, but continue to empower Tanzanians. One of the key things that we're doing is we're looking at young girls. How do we empower young girls and include them in this technological advancement and evolution that's going on? Because we will leave girls behind. Look at this room, majority of you are men. How do we change this? So we're doing this because we want to digitalize learning. We want to start the girls young. So we want to impact girls and show them what digital transformation can do. So we're connecting schools, girls and boys. We're focusing on girls. We're connecting schools, giving free connectivity so that we can leverage on the technology that we have, but then we can also digitalize learning from them and include them as this part of the system and drive growth from a young age. So these are just some of the initiatives that we are doing as tiGO.
Great stuff, that's Kadambara. So we've got 5 minutes left of the panel. I'd like to ask some questions. We've got one in the front here. Any other questions to go around? There's one in the front here as well. So we'll take those 2 questions and see how much time we've got left.
Good morning again. My name is Esther Mengi. Most of you saw me yesterday. I'm the CEO of Forensic Africa, and I have a question. So before my question, I'd like to congratulate the government of United Republic of Tanzania for the awesome job that it's doing for the connectivity and the digital space. We have seen Mama Samia spearheading the connectivity, and which is really awesome. So this, we cannot say so for other countries as well. So I remember I was in a room with a similar discussion in a neighboring country, and then a minister was told us, we asked the minister, why is connectivity not a priority. So he gave us, I don't know how to put this, but he said, if you are naked and someone gives you a piece of cloth, what part of your body, which part of your body will you cover first? Meaning, our African communities have different issues: water, electricity, connectivity. So why would I prioritize connectivity while my people don't have access to electricity and the roads are bad? So my question is connectivity a need or a want? Is it a need or a want? Thank you.
So, guys, Kadambara and Ramadhan, if you'd like to kind of give a short response, please.
Okay, so thank you so much for your fantastic question. Connectivity is not a want for sure. I think on your day-to-day, if you look at your day-to-day life, and if you honestly reflect on your day-to-day life, connectivity is a basic need right now. So the answer is to just make sure as we transform and as we push for this growth and all these things that we're doing to make sure we're empowered in terms of connectivity, we do this along with power. We understand power is a very big challenge, but if we're not connected, then we just move away from digital transformation, which takes us farther away from the rest of the world. So part of the initiatives that we're working on is to try to see how can we embed technological advancement, especially on the telecommunication industry. How can we connect that person in a shack and then also give them a solar panel so that they have access to power? And that's the solution.
Great stuff. Thanks, Kadambara.
Yeah, thank you. I think for me, connectivity is a very basic need in the life today. And I'm saying that because there's a lot of services, critical services for normal human life on a day-to-day basis, which have been pegged into a digital platform. I don't know if you have heard of things like a mama, where there's millions of pregnant mothers who are accessing medical services through the mama platform. And you cannot access that if you don't have the connectivity through your handheld device. You have heard of M-Kulima, for instance, which combines and put all the millions of farmers together to access the global markets and sell their products and stuff like that. All those you cannot really do them without connectivity. But we have seen the emerging need for people to have the smart homes. People want to have visibility of their homes while they are away from their homes. People want to be able to open their gates. Those are the real-time services which needs connectivity. So it's no longer an issue of a want, or it's no longer an issue of a luxury. In the current context, connectivity is just as good as food. If you miss it, I think there's a lot of things that you'll be missing in your life, and that is my comment. Thank you.
So, thanks, Ramadhan. There's one last question in the front, and then unfortunately, we're going to run out of time. Terribly sorry.
Good morning, everyone. Yes, my name is Tumaini Magila, a council member from TCRI CCC. When you're talking about meaningful connectivity, obviously we must think about safeguarding consumers from network disruption, which caused by thefts, vandalism, cyber attack, and fostering a secure and a resilient communication environment. Obviously, my question is to the service provider, both data and for both services. So I want to know exactly what communication strategy service provider have in place to inform consumers about network disruption and the expected downtime. The second question is about collaboration and information sharing. How can service provider collaborate and share real-time information and secure and security updates to protect the consumers?
Thanks very much. Unfortunately, we only have time to answer the one question. Hopefully, you guys can engage after. The first question was on how do consumers know about the network uptime, downtime. So I'm going to Kadambara, I'm going to give it to Ramadhan and to Kevin to give some, I suppose, yeah. Do you want to respond to that? Or no, actually Helios. Ramadhan and Lynk, if you guys can respond, please.
Yeah, okay. So we usually have a very defined platform to inform our consumers when we have network outages. But I want to give a level of comfort to you that our network are resilient by designs. And we design our network in such a way that is 99.999% available. However, I'm not saying we don't have the downtime. We usually have the downtime. And we have the very proactive measures of informing our customers when it is a planned downtime. But when it's not a planned downtime, then nobody knows when it will happen. What we do is we do it reactively. When the network is down, if there's any platform which is still available, to send the messages to the consumers to tell them that we are having this kind of a problem in the meantime, we will do that. So most of the time we use our social media platforms. We use the SMS platforms to get to the customers. But if the network is down, then the customer does not have any access to the network, right? And it becomes difficult for him to see your notification. But we have the platforms. We use the social medias. We use the other medias available. And if it's a proactive kind of a downtime, then we send the text messages to our customers to tell them that we'll be having this kind of downtime in this particular time. Thank you.
So our key customers are the MNOs, the operators. So in terms of power availability, that's part of our core business. Because we need to support not just one operator, sometimes we have 3 or 4 operators on the site. So we need to make sure that the power is available at all times. So besides things like having batteries, generators, you can see our 2 signs on either side of the stage in terms of sustainability. So we're very focused also on renewable energy, solar, etc. And we make sure that we build high available, resilient networks. We've got some markets, we're in 9 markets across Middle East and Africa. Some of our markets have less than 10 hours grid availability. But in terms of the operator service, this is 99.999, like Ramadhan was saying. That's what their expectation is. So Helios has to be able to provide the power to maintain and manage those services. So we also build a high availability network, but it's making sure as well the resilience is there. So if there is a fault, because there's always something that fails, we can recover and repair and replace and keep that availability up as much as possible.
Thank you so much. Thank you very much, guys. So just to wrap up, talking about robust networks, talking about ubiquitous networks, talking about uptime on the networks. Guys, we'll give you 30 seconds each just to wrap up. I'm going to put a timer on my phone, so it's going to be perfectly fair for everybody. So, timer, 6 minutes, I'll go to 0. Sorry guys, I should have done this before I started, apologies.
You've got to ask the question before you hit the start button.
Yeah, no, 100%. So this is the wrap-up, Kevin, we started with you. In terms of your closing remarks, in terms of what we've been talking about on the panel. 30 seconds, and I'll start the clock now.
So I think the MNOs, the Helios towers, and the current operators are doing a great job in doing this effectively, these robust networks. I want to see us as the vendor community extend that out into the less fortunate areas, the rural areas, and give more connectivity. That's what I'd like to see.
Fantastic. 25 seconds.
Yeah. As a technology company,
okay, starting the timer.
As a technology company, we are looking at providing our MNO partners and the tower partners with multi-path networks, which means there's always resiliency on the backhaul side of it. We are making our technology more driven with technology like machine learning and self-healing networks, which can identify problems much earlier and then it happens and be able to recover fast.
From a Helios Towers perspective, I mean, it's critical for us, like the gentleman mentioned, we look at the entire ecosystem of power availability, even things like where do we get fuel from, who holds the fuel, how do you manage it, how do you transport it. This is a complex process, even though everyone just thinks we drop a tower, put power and switch on. It's more complicated than that. And it's making sure that we can give our customers that high availability to make sure that they are happy with our service. And in a market, we have very few customers. It's just the mobile operators, and it's making sure their network is available so the consumers can get the best service out of their network.
Have you started the timer? My expectation is actually to see more collaboration between the private sector and the government in continuing to penetrate the digital transformation for the country. But on top of that, I also expect to see collaboration in terms of the improvement of the device ecosystem in the market. Because one of the biggest problems we have as MNOs is we still have a lot of substandards or 2G devices in the market, and we need to dilute that and making sure that every Tanzanian is getting a high-end or more high data connected devices. Thank you.
Okay, so have you started? You have to be fair. Okay, so I'll just add on to him, to his. But it's very important that we make the right partnerships to ensure that we can deliver these services, especially to the marginalized. This should be our key. And my advice is that we also tackle the power issue, which means we bundle up services, we provide solar and connectivity and the device, and all of this can be done by device management under one program and one product basically, and to ensure that we drive our agenda, which is digital transformation for all Tanzanians, and connect them to the rest of the world. I knew I would lose this one.
Guys, thank you so much for a great panel. I really enjoyed that conversation. Thanks very much.